It looks like we have a major update on Danhausen's status with All Elite Wrestling. This according to a new report from FightfulSelect.com. We're going to tell you exactly when Danhausen's AEW contract is up, what has been going on, why hasn't he been on TV, and what this could mean for both Danhausen and his future in All Elite Wrestling. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the allegedly new WWE Raw on Netflix logo that has everyone talking. We're going to take a look. I'm going to tell you my thoughts and why I think it's a great or horrible logo. You're going to see it right here in this video. Be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, first things first, let's talk about Danhausen, one of the most charismatic and charming professional wrestlers there is in wrestling today. He signed with AEW a couple of years ago, but his run with them has been pretty start and stop, and we just have learned new information about his contract status. This courtesy of FightfulSelect.com. Let's take a look at exactly what is going on, or what seems to be going on, with Danhausen. He says, quote, sources Fightful has spoken to claim that AEW and Danhausen have not been in regular contact for well over 6 months. Outside of approvals for indie dates, which are protocol for talent under AEW contract, Danhausen was set to return from injury about a year ago, and plans changing regarding his return led to Danhausen expressing frustration directly to Tony Khan. There had been a few there had been a few pitches to possibly bring Danhausen back earlier in the year, and Fightful was told that Bryan Danielson was a big proponent of his. Nothing emerged from those plans, but Danhausen has been willing to return to work for AEW. The report also goes on to state that Danhausen's AEW contract is expected to expire in the summer of 2025, and there's also been some back and forth about whether or not he wanted to work on a specific show for AEW. You guys can read the full article linked in the description, but here's what we know, and here's what I think is very important from this. It looks like Danhausen here, there's just been such a weird energy about his run in AEW. And, I think there's going to be a lot of people who say, like, oh, well, he was buddies with CM Punk and this was bound to happen. But if you look at it, right, a lot of the stuff that started to go, you could say, wrong with Danhausen happened even before and outside from, like, Punk's being injured, right? Obviously, Danhausen was injured for over a year. He went down with a pretty bad injury. I believe he aggravated his old leg injury. And he's had not been seen on AEW TV for well over a year. He comes back, and immediately people are like, okay, when is Danhausen going to be back on AEW? And he just never made regular TV appearances. And this is someone who in 2021, 2022, when he originally debuted for AEW, Danhausen was one of the hottest things on the indies. He was genuinely breaking out past the wrestling bubble. And he's been one of the few characters in professional wrestling to not be on major professional wrestling television to break out past the pro wrestling bubble. They did an entire profile on him on the New York Times Daily podcast. So that speaks to Danhausen and kind of what he means as far as being a cultural phenomenon. And at a time where AEW is bringing in, Big Boom AJ, Big Justice, and the Rizzler, like, you would think that someone like Danhausen, they would want to capitalize on at least the clout and the popularity that he has. Yet here we are, and he's not on TV. And if it's a case of things creatively are not working and all that, then it's weird to me why Danhausen is still with AEW. Genuinely. And that is not me saying, oh, he needs to be fired or whatever, but from the sound of it, it looks like he's doing a lot of indie dates. And I don't think Danhausen is going to ever be wanting for dates. He's always going to be able to do that. But at the same time, I'm like, man, like, if you are going to sign someone like Danhausen, who should be a staple on one of your shows, I don't care whether it's Collision, Dynamite, whatever, he should be a staple on one of your shows. If you're not going to use that guy, then it makes me question, the overall like structure of like what you're doing creatively. And there's a lot of things you can criticize AEW for creatively, but not using Danhausen, who I know like your core audience may not think he's like all that or whatever, but at the same time, it is undeniable that he has an appeal, and it is undeniable that his appeal goes beyond professional wrestling. And when your ratings are sinking, when your popularity as a brand is sinking, I'm not saying Danhausen is going to fix everything and he's going to make sure that ratings go up through the roofs and attendance is going to be great, but it's part of like going in on a concept of what your company is going to be and going in and trying to capitalize on what is popular and what can make you more relevant. It's part of like a cultural thing you have to have as a company. And, I think while I believe that AEW Dynamite right now is probably it's doing some of the best TV they've ever done, at the same time, I'm looking at, like their lack of use of a guy like Danhausen. I'm looking at them not using a guy like Ricky Starks. I'm looking at all of these big time talent who, for whatever reason, are not on AEW TV that we've been asking about for a while, and it begs the question, what the hell is going on? Regardless of all of that, as far as Danhausen's contract goes, one thing I can tell you is I do think that he is going to have many offers and many money coming his way. Yes, Danhausen. He's going to have a lot of offers coming his way. Big question is, will we see Danhausen in WWE? TBD. I think it would take a massive offer for Danhausen to go to WWE, but if he did, I think the benefits are he would probably get to keep his name. He would be able to make a whole lot of money, and the WWE merch machine would make sure that Danhausen is like a mainstay and probably one of the top merch sellers in their company. So he would make a lot of money, be a broader, even more broad appeal, but obviously the indie stuff would go away, but maybe the money would change things there. But I could see it. And I think like just like I think with Ray Phoenix and Penta, like the masks would sell, I think Danhausen, like merch machine by himself already. Imagine what he would do with that WWE infrastructure behind him. But we will see. Obviously, there's a lot that still needs to play out. Hopefully, all parties can come together and Danhausen get one final run in AEW. We'll see what happens. But I also want you guys to see what happens when you download SeatGeek, sign up, and save $20 today using the promo code RealTake. That's right. It's not a work. It's a shoot. $20 off your first purchase when you download SeatGeek, sign up, and use the promo code RealTake at checkout. SeatGeek is my favorite sports ticketing app to use. It rates your tickets on a 0 to 10 scale so you know precisely the kind of deal that you are getting. It tells you exactly the details that you need to know in order to maximize your availability, to maximize your money, and also maximize the fun you have, whether you're going to WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown, AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, AEW Full Gear, whatever you're going to, SeatGeek's got you covered. And today, when you sign up using the link in the description below, you guys can save yourselves $20 off using the promo code RealTake. That is $20 off your first purchase when you use the promo code RealTake. Check it out. All the information in the link in the description. All right. Now we go from shilling to reacting to the potential new logo for WWE Monday Night Raw. Many of you have been asking, what will this new WWE Raw logo be? What will it look like? How will it look and how will it come across? Well, we now have potentially an answer. This is the alleged leaked logo. That is not it. That is me. This is the alleged leaked logo of WWE on Raw on Netflix. There it is in all its glory. And I'm going to say it right now that there was a little bit of a different logo that's been going around. I did edit this slightly because it seemed to be like a screenshot that someone had taken of like a photo that was on a screen. So I changed it up a little bit. Not change it up, but like I just made it a little bit brighter and easier to see. But there you go. That's the general vibe. Initial thought here. What the hell is going on with these shapes, bro? What are we doing here? This is not a good logo. Genuinely, this is not a good logo. Like, I've seen a lot of logos for Raw going around, like, you know, and one of them was just like the regular, like, current Raw logo, except like with white shade rather than a red shade. I appreciate the fact that they are trying something, because nowadays one of the problems with a lot of logos is you get the very, you know, generic font. Everything is like so, like, you know, clean and neat looking. It doesn't feel like, you know, in the 90s and the 2000s, it was like a little bit of a rugged vibe to logos and things like that. They're obviously trying to go for something a little bit more thoughtful and artsy here, but for me, it's just not hitting. And it's that little like curve on the bottom that I just don't like. I don't know what's going on there. I think it's obviously a play on what the Raw logo has been over the years, but I don't know. Not a fan, but internet's going crazy about it. Obviously, Raw on Netflix is going to be a big deal, so I doubt that one logo is going to stop the momentum. People were also pretty indifferent or mad to some degree about the SmackDown logo, yet here we are, and they're doing fine, and SmackDown's an okay show. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments section, what do you guys think about this logo? Rate it for me on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you guys think? My score, I'm going to give it a 3. I'm not a big fan of it, but let me know if you agree or disagree. Also, let me know what you guys think about Danhausen, his contract status with All Elite Wrestling. Will we see Danhausen in WWE 2025? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from y'all. Also, be sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.